Chapter 8. Geopolitical Cyber Risks. No industry is safe from nation-state cyber attacks. Cyber warfare is a business problem. Nation-state attacks are not only about stealing military secrets or disrupting infrastructure. They're about economic influence, competitive advantage, and disruption. And whether you run a manufacturing plant, a logistics company, or a financial services firm, your business is fair game in this evolving battleground. Here's the reality. If a nation-state sees your industry as strategically important, whether it's energy, finance, healthcare, or even supply chain logistics, your business is part of the equation. Even if your company isn't the direct target, you can still get caught in the blast radius. Think about it. State-backed attackers don't just go after governments. They go after the businesses that fuel economies. They aim to steal intellectual property, manipulate markets, or disrupt supply chains. A pharmaceutical company working on groundbreaking research, a prime target. A logistics firm managing global shipping routes, a critical vulnerability. Even regional banks, retailers, and manufacturers are exposed if their data, systems, or vendors tie into a larger geopolitical strategy. And then there's collateral damage. Maybe your business has nothing to do with global conflicts, but what about your suppliers, your cloud providers, your financial institutions? Nation-state cyber operations often target infrastructure that entire industries depend on. Think of what happens when a major cloud provider, payment processor, or telecom network is compromised. The ripple effects can be devastating. The playbook for these attacks is evolving. It's not just about stealing trade secrets anymore. Some nation-states engage in cyber operations to cause uncertainty, disrupt economies, or gain leverage in political negotiations. Ransomware attacks that look like typical cybercrime. Sometimes they're fronts for state-backed campaigns aimed at destabilizing entire sectors. Phishing attempts that seem random? They might be laying the groundwork for long-term espionage. For business leaders and CISOs, the message is clear. This is not an IT issue. It is a business resilience issue. Companies need to think beyond firewalls and antivirus software and start treating cyber threats as part of their overall risk management strategy. That means mapping out geopolitical risks, understanding how global tensions impact their industry, and ensuring supply chains and partners are just as secure as their own networks. The businesses that survive these shifts won't just be the ones with the best security tools. They'll be the ones that understand the bigger picture, how global conflicts, economic pressures, and cyber warfare intersect. Because in today's world, cybersecurity is no longer about protecting data. It is about protecting the entire business ecosystem from threats that go far beyond the digital realm. Vetting vendors for cybersecurity risks. Your business is only as secure as its weakest link, and often that weak link isn't inside your own network. It's in your supply chain. Every vendor, contractor, and third-party provider you rely on is a potential entry point for cyber threats. And if you're not vetting them properly, you're gambling with your own security. The days of assuming that cybersecurity stops at your company's firewall are over. Attackers know that the easiest way into a well-protected organization is through a less secure partner. Think about it. Your software providers have access to your systems. Your logistics partners handle critical data. Your cloud vendors store sensitive information. If they get breached, you get breached. And it's happening more often than ever. Take a look at recent high-profile supply chain attacks. Nation-state actors planting backdoors in software updates. Hackers compromising managed service providers to get to hundreds of their clients at once. Ransomware groups exploiting third-party access to cripple entire industries. These aren't theoretical risks. They're real and they're escalating. So how do you ensure your vendors aren't your biggest vulnerability? You vet them like you would an internal security system. That means due diligence, ongoing monitoring, and clear accountability. Before onboarding a vendor, dig into their cybersecurity posture. Do they have multi-factor authentication? Are they compliant with industry regulations? Do they conduct regular security audits? A vendor's security practices should meet or exceed your own. Contracts need to reflect this reality. Security clauses shouldn't be an afterthought. Make it clear what's expected in terms of data protection, breach notification, and security controls. If a vendor won't commit to cybersecurity standards in writing, that's a red flag. And it's not just about initial assessments. Security reviews should be continuous. Cyber threats evolve, and so should your approach to vendor risk management. The best companies don't just assess their own security, they build resilience across their entire ecosystem. That means mapping out supplier dependencies, implementing zero-trust principles, and ensuring that every link in the supply chain is accountable for its cyber hygiene. Because at the end of the day, cybersecurity isn't just about protecting your own house. It's about making sure no one can sneak in through the back door. Sanctions, compliance, and international cybersecurity laws. What's legal in one country could get you fined or worse in another. And with governments tightening their grip on data privacy, trade restrictions, and cybercrime enforcement, companies that don't pay attention to compliance could find themselves in serious trouble. Sanctions directly impact how businesses operate in the digital world. If your company has vendors, clients, or data flows connected to sanctioned entities or restricted nations, you need to be absolutely sure you're not violating trade laws. Working with the wrong partner, even unintentionally, can lead to financial penalties, legal action, and reputational damage. The US, EU, and other governing bodies regularly update sanctions lists, and it's on businesses to stay informed. Then there's the challenge of data sovereignty. Regulations like GDPR in Europe, CCPA in California, and China's cybersecurity law dictate how data is collected, stored, and transferred across borders. Governments want control over data that touches their jurisdictions, and businesses that don't comply risk massive fines and restrictions. The days of moving data freely across global cloud providers without scrutiny are gone. Companies now need clear strategies to handle localization requirements and ensure lawful data transfers. Regulators are enforcing their laws aggressively. GDPR fines have reached into the hundreds of millions, and US authorities have penalized companies for violating trade controls. For example, multinational firms have faced legal action for inadvertently working with sanctioned entities, while cloud providers have been fined for mishandling data transfers. Businesses operating internationally must be proactive. Waiting until regulators come knocking is too late. A strong compliance strategy means knowing which laws apply to your industry, continuously monitoring regulatory updates, and having clear protocols for cross-border transactions. Companies should work closely with legal teams, establish compliance review processes for vendor contracts, and ensure employees are trained on evolving cybersecurity laws. Cyber compliance is a board-level concern that can affect market access, financial stability, and corporate reputation. Looking ahead, governments are moving toward tighter control of digital assets, stricter reporting requirements for cyber incidents, and heavier penalties for non-compliance. Expect more cross-border cooperation between regulators, increasing scrutiny on supply chains, and new legal frameworks around AI and digital trade. Smart businesses aren't waiting for the rules to change. They're staying ahead by embedding compliance into their cybersecurity and risk management frameworks. Cybersecurity isn't just about stopping hackers. It's about ensuring the way you do business is legally sound in every country you operate in. Understanding sanctions, compliance, and international cyber laws is a business necessity. Economic espionage. Why your business is a target. When you think of cyber threats, you might picture ransomware gangs or criminals trying to steal credit card data. But there's a much bigger, more calculated game being played: economic espionage. Nation-states and well-funded groups aren't just hacking for chaos or quick cash. They're after something much bigger: intellectual property, trade secrets, and competitive intelligence. And here's the kicker: your business might already be in their sights, whether you realize it or not. Industries like pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, energy, and even agriculture are prime targets. If your company has valuable data, patents, proprietary research, supply chain details, or customer analytics, someone, somewhere is interested in it, and they're not going to ask nicely. These attacks aren't like the smash-and-grab cybercrimes you hear about. Economic espionage is patient, calculated, and designed for the long game. The goal isn't to take your systems offline. It's to embed, monitor, and extract valuable intelligence over time. Attackers might not even come at you directly. Instead, they'll look for easier ways in, through your employees, suppliers, or cloud-based systems. They'll slip in through social engineering, phishing, or even by compromising third-party vendors who have access to your network. Once inside, they won't make noise. They'll move carefully, siphoning valuable data without setting off alarms. If they do it right, you won't know until it's too late. Maybe you're a biotech startup developing a breakthrough drug, only to find a foreign competitor launching the same product months ahead of you. Or you're in advanced manufacturing, and suddenly, overseas factories are churning out eerily similar designs. The hard truth? If your data gives someone else an economic edge, they'll take it. Most companies assume they're too small or niche to be worth hacking. That's a mistake. Even if you're not the ultimate target, you might be part of a bigger puzzle. You work with suppliers, logistics partners, software vendors, any of whom could be the real prize. That makes you a stepping stone. Economic espionage is about shifting global power. If a country can steal cutting-edge R&D instead of investing billions in research, they gain an advantage without the effort. This kind of intelligence fuels national economies, strengthens industries, and secures political leverage. That's why governments back these operations. This isn't random cybercrime, it's strategy. And some of the most devastating economic espionage cases don't start with a hacker. They start with a person inside the company. Nation-states and their proxies are actively recruiting insiders who already have access to the data they want. And it doesn't take a top executive to be a threat. Engineers, scientists, supply chain managers, even contractors, anyone with the right permissions can become an entry point for foreign intelligence operations. The tactics vary. Some employees are coerced, targeted by foreign intelligence agencies through blackmail or threats. Others are bribed, lured with offers of money, business opportunities, or even citizenship benefits in exchange for intellectual property. And then there are the ideological recruits, those who align with a foreign government's interests and willingly act as informants. The most sophisticated cases unfold over time. An employee might not start stealing data immediately. They might first be approached by a friendly business partner, a research collaboration, or an international recruiter promising a lucrative career move. Only later does the true agenda reveal itself, often after the employee has already provided useful access or intelligence. And here's the real challenge. Insider threats tied to geopolitical actors don't always look like traditional fraud or sabotage. A well-placed engineer might slowly siphon trade secrets. A departing executive might take entire business strategies to a foreign competitor. A researcher at a university-backed firm might leak critical innovations under the guise of academic exchange. These aren't just hypothetical risks. They've happened in industries ranging from pharmaceuticals to AI development to aerospace. The solution isn't paranoia, it's proactive insider threat management. Security teams need to go beyond IT controls and work with HR, legal, and compliance teams to spot red flags early. Unusual access requests, sudden interest in proprietary data, unexplained financial windfalls, or employees taking sensitive documents home. These are all signs of potential insider espionage, and companies operating globally should be even more vigilant, as cross-border business relationships can blur the lines between legitimate collaboration and state-sponsored intelligence gathering. Here's the harsh reality. Most companies don't take this seriously until it's too late. Unlike ransomware, where the damage is immediate, economic espionage bleeds your business dry slowly. That's why your defenses need to go beyond firewalls and antivirus software. First, know what's worth protecting. If you don't classify your critical data, patents, trade secrets, R&D, you can't secure it properly. Limit access to only those who truly need it. Set up strict access controls and monitor unusual data movement. If an employee suddenly starts accessing sensitive files they've never touched before, that's a red flag. Economic espionage is real and it's happening every day. If your company has something valuable, whether it's innovative technology, financial data, or even strategic business plans, you're already on someone's radar. The question isn't if you'll be targeted, but when. And the companies that survive won't be the ones that assume they're safe. They'll be the ones that recognize the threat, take action, and build a cybersecurity strategy that protects not just their networks, but their future. Building cyber resilience in a world of political uncertainty. Cyber threats are shaped by global politics, economic pressures, and shifting alliances. One day, your supply chain is secure. The next, a government sanctions a key partner, or a nation-state-backed cyber attack targets your industry. Cyber resilience is about adaptability. Businesses that survive in uncertain times aren't the ones with the most expensive firewalls. They're the ones that can anticipate disruptions, pivot quickly, and operate even when threats emerge from unexpected places. A solid cyber resilience strategy starts with understanding what could go wrong. That means mapping out geopolitical risks, sanctions, trade disputes, cyber conflicts, and identifying how they could impact your supply chain, data access, or infrastructure. If your cloud provider is suddenly restricted from operating in certain countries, do you have a backup plan? If a critical vendor is targeted by a cyber attack, how fast can you switch to an alternative? These aren't just hypothetical questions, they're scenarios that companies face every day. Businesses also need to recognize that cyber resilience is about internal agility. Security teams must have the authority to act fast, without waiting for bureaucratic approval chains to slow them down. Incident response plans should cover technical containment, regulatory compliance, PR crisis management, as well as financial contingency planning. When a cyber attack has political implications, like an attack traced back to a hostile nation, your response needs to be as much about strategy as it is about recovery. Another key piece of cyber resilience is knowing who to trust. In a politically charged environment, businesses can't afford to blindly trust every vendor, partner, or even employee. Background checks, strict vendor risk assessments, and supply chain security audits aren't optional anymore. They're necessary defenses against both cyber attacks and political blowback. Finally, staying ahead in a world of political uncertainty means engaging with the right intelligence sources. Governments, industry groups, and cybersecurity agencies all track geopolitical cyber threats, and smart companies don't wait until an attack happens to start paying attention. Regularly reviewing threat intelligence, participating in industry security forums, and maintaining relationships with government cybersecurity agencies can give you a crucial head start when a new risk emerges. In a world where political tensions directly impact cybersecurity, resilience is about survival. The companies that understand this don't just react to crises, they build the flexibility, foresight, and security posture to operate no matter how uncertain the landscape becomes.